Hello everyone and welcome to STEAM in Summer. My name is Meera and today I'm going to be showing you some geometry through paper folding. Geometry is the study of shapes. So today we're going to be folding some paper to make some 3D shapes and I'm going to show you how. Today's shapes will be a cube, a rectangular prism, a cylinder, and a triangular prism. First is the cube. A cube is a three-dimensional shape made from 6 equal squares. So the base, the top, and all the four walls, I guess you could call it, of the cube are the same exact size square. As you can see on the right, I have the picture of the cutout we're going to be using today, and all of those squares are exactly the same size. So first, to make the cube, you're going to print out this paper, and you're going to cut around all the lines at the end. And now I'm going to show you how to make it. So what I'm going to be doing is fold all of those four outside squares on their line that's printed out on the page and fold it into that inside square. That inside square is going to be the base of our cube, so we're folding those other four squares, which are going to be the walls of the cube, around the middle square. And then those little tiny pieces that I'm folding right now are going to be the edges, so we're going to be folding those to make the edges. Now that we have folded all our walls and the tiny pieces to help with the walls, we're going to be taping the walls together so that we can form a real cube. So as you can see, I'm taking those little tiny paper pieces and making sure they're on the outside of the wall, and then I am taping those two edges together so it stays up, kind of like a box. Think of this like a box. So once I tape all those edges together, the top square is kind of going to be the lid. So you're going to want to fold that in and close it like the lid of a box. And then you're going to want to tape it together. Now this is not going to look that great. As you can see, my cube is done and it's the correct shape of a cube, but it does not look that perfect. This is what a cube is actually supposed to look like, and my cube does look like that. It's just the edges are not perfect, the tape is not really that good looking, but as long as you get that shape of a cube, you've done everything perfectly correctly. So don't even worry about it. Next is going to be the rectangular prism. A rectangular prism is basically the same as a cube, except it's not made of 6 equal squares. The squares are different. So it's a three-dimensional shape made from two sets of 2 equal rectangles and 2 equal squares. So not every wall or base or top is the same size. The base is right here, and they have, as you can see, there are two sets of 2 equal big rectangles, that top one and then the third one down, and then the second one from the top is the same size as the rectangle on the bottom, and then those two sides are also the same. So they're not all the same size, but they're the same as one of the other rectangles in the picture. And you can also kind of tell that it looks kind of, the layout that I have here looks kind of the same as the one from the cube. It's just that not all the squares are the same size. So you can actually go back in this video where I showed you how to make the cube and do it the same way with this layout, because the squares, the rectangles are in the exact same positions. So you can follow the same video. It'll be the same instructions just with this paper, and you should get a shape that looks something like this. Again, it's going to be hard to tape them all together. It's not going to look perfect, but as long as you get this solid shape, you're totally fine and you did it perfectly. Now let's look at a cylinder. A cylinder is probably the shape that your water bottles are in, or like a can is in. A cylinder is a solid object with a circular top and bottom. So I know this picture of the cutout that we're going to be using to make the cylinder looks kind of weird, but when you think about it, if one of the circles is going to be the bottom and the other circle is going to be the top, then that rectangle is going to be like the wall of the cylinder, like the wall of the can. So it kind of gets folded into a circle. And I know that'll make more sense when you watch the video. So as you can see, I've printed it, I've cut it, and now I'm going to fold those circles on their lines into that rectangle. And as you can see, it's going to be kind of hard to tape this together because we're going to have to curl the paper a little bit. So that's why I'm taping this together. And the tape didn't really stay for that long. It's kind of a hard taping situation to do But as long as you understand that when we print this rectangle, we have to kind of roll it around the edge of the circle, that's all you really need to know to understand how to make a cylinder and how a cylinder works. It doesn't really matter if the tape stays. See, you can kind of see that the tape is already falling off a little bit. But look, it's a cylinder. It looks like a can. And as long as you can understand the way that the rectangle wraps around the edge of the circle, and you can kind of see how I did it, you should be able to understand how a cylinder works. And this is the shape that you should be getting in the end. Kind of looks like a can. The last shape we're going to be doing is a triangular prism. So a triangular prism is a solid object with a triangular top and bottom. So all of these things are going to get folded around that center square that I've showed you. So the triangles on the sides are going to get folded into that middle square, and the two top and bottom squares are going to get folded into that middle square. And all the squares in this picture are the same exact size. So let me show you how to do that. So I'm going to fold those triangles in, as I just said, and I folded those squares in, and I folded those small little pieces in to help me. And now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to tape all those edges like we did with the cube, except some of these edges are triangles, some of these walls are different shapes. So I'm going to be, again, taking those small paper pieces and making sure they're on the outside of my wall, and then I'm going to be taping them together. So you're going to want to do the same thing you did with the cube and tape all of your edges together, all of your walls up together. And because, you know, these are triangles, it's kind of hard to get a grip on the inside because we're taping very closely together. So do not worry if this doesn't really want to stay together. When you see the end, you'll see how it's supposed to look, and that's probably the shape you're going to get anyway. It's just these edges might have a little bit of spaces in between. The tape might not look perfect. It might be hard to get it all to stay together. But as you can see, mine is terrible, and it still kind of looks like a triangular prism. And this is the shape you are supposed to get. So as long as it makes sense how to do that, if the tape doesn't work out that way or the paper folding is kind of hard, don't even worry about it. As long as you can fold the paper enough to understand that that's what it's supposed to look like, you're fine. You've understood the geometry. So I wish you a happy folding. I hope this video was helpful. You can always pause and go back to any point in the video if you want to rewatch some part of the instructions. Remember, if you're having trouble with the rectangular prism, just look back at the cube video because the instructions are still the same, just the paper looks a little bit different, but it's similar enough that you can still follow this cube instructions and it'll make sense and you'll get the same shape. I hope you enjoyed learning about some shapes with me today, and even though I'm sure the taping and the folding is going to be kind of annoying, I hope it was cool for you to see the paper folding in action and how we made 3D shapes out of 2D paper. Thank you for watching.